Hi, and welcome to Cipher Mind Academy. I am Alex, a security engineer here at the Academy. Today we'll begin Objective 1.0. General security concepts from Cybersecurity Essential. A visual, step-by-step guide for beginners. This objective forms the foundation of the CompTIA Security Plus certification and introduces the core concepts that every cybersecurity professional must understand. Before you can defend a network, investigate a security incident, or secure critical systems, you need to understand the language of cybersecurity. That means understanding security controls, security principles, risk management concepts, and the defensive strategies used to protect modern organizations. In this lesson, you'll learn how security professionals classify security controls using the same framework tested on the Security Plus exam and applied every day in real-world security operations. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify different categories of security controls, understand their purpose, and explain how they work together to create layered security defenses. Every successful cyber attack has one thing in common. A security control failed. It was missing, misconfigured, ignored, or simply misunderstood. When ransomware encrypts a company, when credentials are stolen, when customer data is exposed, the root cause almost always traces back to a control problem. In cybersecurity, controls are the language of defense. And if you cannot identify what a control is, who implements it, and what it actually does, you'll struggle both on the Security Plus exam and in a real security role. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to classify any security control using a simple framework that works every single time. Let's start with the foundation. A security control is any safeguard or countermeasure designed to protect the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of information and systems. A firewall is a control. A password policy is a control. Security awareness training is a control. A locked server room is a control. The challenge isn't recognizing controls. The challenge is classifying them correctly. Every Security Plus question about controls can be solved using two simple questions. Question 1. Who or what implements the control? That tells us the category. Question 2. What does the control actually do? That tells us the type. That's it! Every control can be mapped using those two dimensions. Categories tell us who implements the control. Technical controls are enforced through technology. Examples include firewalls, encryption, intrusion detection systems, and multi-factor authentication. Managerial controls are enforced through governance and policy. Examples include security policies, risk assessments, and compliance requirements. Operational controls are implemented by people and processes. Examples include awareness training, incident response procedures, and guard patrols. Physical controls protect access to facilities and infrastructure. Examples include locks, fences, CCTV systems, badge readers, and biometric scanners. A simple way to remember this: technology enforces technical controls. Management creates managerial controls. People execute operational controls. Physical barriers enforce physical controls. Now let's look at what the control actually does. Preventive controls stop incidents before they happen. Deterrent controls discourage attackers from trying. Detective controls identify and alert on events. Corrective controls restore systems after an incident. Compensating controls provide alternative protection when the preferred control isn't feasible. Directive controls instruct people how to behave. Think of types as the job description of the control. Now that we've defined security controls, let's look at how security professionals classify them. One of the most important concepts for the Security Plus exam is understanding that every security control can be viewed from two different perspectives. The first perspective is the control category. The second perspective is the control type. Think of it this way. The category tells us who or what implements the control. The type tells us what the control actually does. If you can answer those two questions, you can classify almost any security control you encounter. Let's start with the four primary control categories. Technical controls are enforced through technology. Examples include firewalls, encryption, intrusion detection systems, and multi-factor authentication. Managerial controls are implemented through governance, policies, procedures, and risk management activities. They provide the direction and oversight needed to manage security effectively. Operational controls are carried out by people and processes. Examples include security awareness training, incident response procedures, change management, and day-to-day security operations. Physical controls protect facilities, equipment, and infrastructure. Examples include locks, security guards, CCTV systems, badge readers, and biometric scanners. Think of categories as answering the question, who or what is responsible for implementing the control? Now let's look at the control types. Control types describe the function of the control. Preventive controls stop incidents before they happen. Deterrent controls discourage attackers from attempting an attack. Detective controls identify and alert on suspicious activity. Corrective controls help restore systems after an incident occurs. Compensating controls provide alternative protection when the preferred control cannot be implemented. Directive controls establish rules, expectations, and required behavior. Think of types as answering the question, what job does the control perform? Now here's the important part. A security control can belong to both a category and a type at the same time. For example, a firewall is a technical control because technology enforces it, and a preventive control because it blocks unwanted traffic. A CCTV camera is a physical control because it protects physical infrastructure, and a detective control because it helps identify suspicious activity. A security policy is a managerial control because management creates it, and a directive control because it tells people what they are expected to do. This distinction is critical for both the Security Plus exam and real-world cybersecurity operations. This entire framework becomes much easier when you visualize a medieval castle. Imagine the castle is your organization. Let me illustrate this through this short video.
Welcome back to Cipher Mind Academy. Today, we revisit Objective 1.1, Security Controls through the lens of our digital fortress. The castle walls represent your first line of defense. Physical, preventive controls designed to stop threats before they even enter. By layering multiple physical barriers, we ensure that even the most persistent attackers are kept at bay. Flags and visible archers on the battlements are deterrent controls. Their mere presence discourages a potential attacker from proceeding. The watchtower serves as a detective control, constantly scanning and monitoring for any sign of unauthorized activity. Healers within the courtyard represent operational corrective controls, the essential systems that repair damage and restore order after an incident. The King's written law is a managerial directive control. It provides the policies and procedures that every defender must follow. Finally, the moat acts as a compensating control, a vital alternative when a primary defense isn't possible or sufficient. From the walls to the moat, every layer has a job. This is the art of defense in depth. Visit us at ciphermind.academy.
So, as illustrated on the video, here is a recap. The castle walls are physical and preventive. Their job is simple. Stop attackers from getting in. The flags and visible archers are physical and deterrent. They don't physically stop the attack. They make attackers think twice. The watchtower is physical and detective. Its purpose is to identify threats and sound the alarm. The healers inside the courtyard are operational and corrective. They repair damage after something gets through. The King's written law is managerial and directive. It establishes rules and expected behavior. The moat is compensating. It's an alternative layer when another defensive layer isn't available. Defense in depth. Notice something important. None of these controls work alone. The castle survives because every layer contributes. This is called defense in depth. This castle framework forms the central analogy for understanding how layered security works. Let's translate the castle into a modern organization. At an ATM, CCTV cameras are physical and detective. PIN requirements are technical and preventive. Transaction logging is operational and detective. Fraud response teams are operational and corrective. Banking policies are managerial and directive. 5 controls. 5 different jobs. 1 layered defense strategy. A vulnerability assessment discovers an unpatched internet-facing web server. What should we do? Most beginners answer, apply the patch. That's only 1 layer. A security engineer thinks in layers. Layer 1, apply the patch. Technical plus preventive. Layer 2, add monitoring to the SIM. Technical plus detective. Layer 3, create a mandatory patching policy. Managerial plus directive. That's defense in depth. Before we finish, let's cover the mistakes that cost students points. First, confusing category with type. Second, assuming compensating controls are permanent. Third, believing directive controls enforce themselves. Fourth, confusing deterrent controls with preventive controls. And fifth, thinking a guard and a lock are the same thing. They may protect the same location, but they perform entirely different functions. Security controls are the foundation of cybersecurity. Remember the framework. Who implements it? What does it do? Category plus type, that's the formula. Master that thinking process and you'll not only pass Security Plus, you'll begin thinking like a security engineer. In the next lesson, we'll build on this foundation by exploring the core security principles that drive every security decision, which are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. See you in the next lesson.